I'm Hale Sfandiari, the director of the Middle East program. We are delighted to have with us today scholar from Yemen, Sultana Al-Jahan. She's a bundle of energy and fire. And we have had her, I think, here at the Wilson Center for the last 2 weeks. And I must say that I'm full of respect and admiration for what she has achieved in these 2 weeks. Usually I have to negotiate with people to come and give a talk. I went to her and said, we would like you to talk on Yemeni women. And she said, sure, why not? And she gave us this wonderful title, Challenges and Little Hope, which of course the first part is exciting, the second part is depressing. But she will give us an overview of the situation of Yemeni women in such areas as equality, education, health, and political participation. I remember the last meeting we had on Yemen was with Professor Margot Badran was then here, and I think it must have been 4 or 5 years ago. So it is very timely to have this meeting now. She's a public policy scholar at the Wilson Center and executive director and chairwoman of Women's Affairs Civic Democratic Initiative Support Foundation in Yemen. And she comes to us through a program that Syracuse University has for foreign scholars. Before I give the floor to Sultana, I'd like to urge you on your way out, please pick up that publication which is out there. It's called The Shape of Things to Come, Yemen, Why Women Matter for Demographic Security. This is put out by the Wilson Center's ESP program, and their blog is called The New Security Beat. And the author of this paper is today here, and our chief blogger and chief editor, Megan Parker, is also somewhere sitting in the back, and there she is. So don't forget to pick this up. With this, I give the floor to Jahan. You have 35 minutes, and then we'll open the floor to question and comment.
Okay, let me start with saying good afternoon and a big thank to Wilson Center and Dr. Hala for giving me this opportunity to talk about Yemeni women. And thank you for all of you to attending this session and listening to this information about Yemeni women and to know more about them. I'll start to talk about overview, as Dr. Hala mentioned, about women and different issues in Yemen. There is no exaggeration if we say that human beings suffering because of 3 main reasons, which is a very big reason. The first one is absence of social justice, human rights violations, and people right illiteracy. And if this is the situation for all the people, it becomes more and more important for women. And this is why more efforts and support comes for women. United Nations published a lot of UN conventions, and Yemen signed the majority regarding human rights and women convention. One of the most important one is CEDAW. Yemen government presented 6 reports about UN CEDAW about CEDAW to the UN committee, showed women's achievements. In the field of equality, Yemeni constitution guaranteed equality between women and men, And the Yemeni laws ensure women's rights, though there are some laws that they have some articles which make some discriminatory against women. But NGOs and Women National Committee made a lot of efforts to cancel this or to make amendments so there will be ensure complete equality between men and women in all laws. In the field of as men, but in social traditions and consider that as women's issues as personal issue. At the same time, there is not all Yemeni districts have their own court. At the same time, if there is a court, there is no female judge, which hindered women to go and access for justice. There is some improvement from the part of government and from the part of civil society from the government that they are assigning female judges in juveniles courts as a primary step towards assigning women in the primary women's department in all ministries, especially in Interior Ministry and Justice Ministry. The field of civil society, they are implementing a lot of projects regarding women in justice, such as the project that we implemented in my organization. It was regarding how to deal with violence against women in the Yemeni courts. This is the first one. And the second one that we are still implementing about how to integrate resisting violence against women judicially and culturally. In the field of political participation, in the terms of election legislation, there is no discrimination between men and women, but practically women suffer a lot from election bylaw explanation. Yemen has one female among 301 Yemeni MPs, which represented 0.3%, and we have 38 women out of 7,200 local council members, which is represent 0.5%. In the election 2006, political parties signed or make what they call it honor memorandum, and we consider that honor memorandum as NGOs as evidence of neglecting women's political participation, and it shows the marginalization of women in political parties and reflect the lack of promises fulfillment. And women still absent, I can say women still absent from the political party's agenda as a candidate. If the political parties decided to support women, then what they will do something, which is selected unqualified women. And if they will select this woman, it should be in a constituency they know that they will lose. And there is no preparation or training for those candidates and very limited financial resources. If the woman decided, okay, my political parties refused to support me as a candidate, then I will run as independent, then they will make a lot of obstacles in front of that lady. But at the same time, we cannot just only blaming those political parties. Also, there is blaming for women, because when they decided to run the election as a candidates, they take such kind of decision in a very late time, which hinder them to get the opportunity from the training by NGOs and limited time for fundraising. And there is not enough time at all to make their lobbying and advocacy within their constituency citizens. Also in this field, the president announced that they will give 15% as a quota for women, but they make a condition. This condition, they have to it should be accepted by all by political parties, which I don't think all political parties will accept that, especially the Islamist political parties. The second one, they didn't explain what it will look like. Should it look like the Jordanian quota or the Moroccan quota? Is it chair quota? Is it what they call it candidates nomination quota? If it's nomination, it will be easy because it should only make a modification for the political parties. But if it's chair quota, then it's need a constitutional amendment, and it's very high cost. It's like the election cost. Regarding nationality, in the previous law, the nationality law, giving the women the opportunity, there is no equality between men and women to transfer their nationality to their children from a foreign husband. But in 2003, 2004, they make a slightly improved, and women can transfer her nationality to her children from a foreign husband in two cases. The first one, husband died or divorced. But I read that there is gender-sensitive parliament members who make a proposal to the parliament to ensure equality between men and women in this issue, and the constitutional committee accepted. So maybe in the future there will be complete equality between men and women in this field. In education, the gender gap is still very high. For example, in basic education, gender gap is 33%, especially among the rural girls. Female. In vocational education, the gap is still very high and very deep, 10 females in front of 100 males. The total of higher education female is 68,000 compared with 173,000 male, which means 39 females in turn of 100 male students. In illiteracy, illiteracy declined among females in 2005-2006 compared to previous year by 2.1% versus 8.5% among males. According to the statistic, out of every 10 women, there are 6 illiterate in front of 2 illiterate men. And if we came to see what's the challenge in front of women in the education, it could be the lack of female staff in education. If we know the majority of female are living in rural area, and there is because the increase of poverty, there is preferences for male education than female education. Also, the lack of health facilities, especially for girls in school level, like toilets, for example. Also, the distance of school from the populations, and the time and efforts required to be implemented by women is very high, or more than it should be. The role of civil society in this field: NGOs targeting communities by organizing awareness-raising programs about the importance of girls' education through television, radio, direct meetings, dissemination of publication, communication materials, and opening literacy centers with cooperation with the Education Ministry and the Authority of Illiteracy Reduction. Also, they contribute in doing studies and research on women's status in education, reasons of girls dropping, and effects of early marriage. Organization also offer programs to improve economic conditions of poor families and providing vocational training for programs. So if they improve their incomes, maybe that they can send their children to school, especially girls. In the field of health, Yemen, considered as one of the highest fertility rate country, 5.2 births per woman, and as well high mortality rates among mothers and children, which could be considered the following as reasons behind that. The first one is early marriage and sequential pregnancy, social customs which prevents women or limit the using of family planning. And if there is any prevent in the area, there may be limitation of family planning distribution to cover rural and urban area. According to the government report, there is only 90% who are using family planning methods. And according to the MDG goal, by the 2015, there should be 51.7% who are using family planning. So the gap between the two indicators is 33%, which is still high, and it could be away from to be achieved until the 2015. The role of civil society NGOs are working in awareness-raising programs and early marriage effects on on female and children's education and health and economic situation. Also, they make awareness raising campaigns of family planning importance using, and as well participating in distributing family planning. Why all this challenge in front of women? Because the lack of female health workers. The most female medical staff, there's no specialist for women health services from female cadres. Also, poor health information system in general and in women in particular. Lack of gender-based data to be monitored, the gender gap and access services provided. Some other obstacles, it's family planning methods often do not reach the rural areas. If it arrives, then women do not know how to use it. No enough women cadres or none exist in most rural area. For more clarifications, in addition to the high cost of access to health care and the lack of confidence of women health services provided and the low level of medical competence or quality. In the field of economic participation, according to the civil law, law recognizes rights of women to work as well as men. According to the labor law, provides equality between men and women in employment, promotion, payment, training, rehabilitation, and social protection. The civil services law also does not differentiate between employees on gender basis. It gave women privilege in respect of social function as mothers. However, women still face many challenges related to gender inequality in labor market and employment, which reflected the low level of economic participation. The number of manpower, according to the Yemeni statistic, 11.1 million people, 5.7 millions, which represent 51%, are female. But those who are active, only 596 female, and those who are considered as economically inactive, 5.1 million. The role of civil society, they are working on economic empowerment in the field of training, awareness raising, and microfinance, and awareness raising about inheritance, especially for female, and formed coalition and networks such as civil society networks for poverty elevation, Yemeni networks for combating violence against women, called Shayma, which my organization is one of those two networks member. Obstacles in front of women participation, it's the high interest of microfinance. It's arrived sometimes to 15%, which make such kind of microfinance without benefit for them. Also, women weak capacity in establishing productive projects, and many constraints to access markets and employment opportunities, especially in the private sector. Complexity of loans procedures, women's fear of failure in repayment the loans and its interest. Lending institutions, which is government agencies like the social development fund, focus their work in urban area by 78% and 22% in rural area, and this work is only with individuals. It's not with associations, which is not make or lift some kind of capacity building for institutional mechanisms on district level. In addition to that, most funders are unwilling to work in the rural area. Other subjects, it's rural women. We have 75% who are rural women and living in the rural area. And this is a very huge number, but this is not enough to take care about them. Rural women still suffer from lack of services and low level of those services. Rural women working in unpaid family agriculture area, so this is why they consider working in formal economy. Almost non-exist services for credit and agriculture loans to rural women, though the government is now establishing what they call it Hope Bank, and this is bank is they established 4 branches in the capital and they put in their future to expand it for the rural area by 40 branches. Also, women absence of rural women in local development participation and local plans and budget, but we are trying as organization to include those women in these plans and development participation through arranging meetings with those decision makers and let them know and hear their voices. The last subject I'd like to talk about it's women under conflicts. As you know, that there are different level of conflicts in Yemen. It's tribal conflicts, state tribal conflicts, state and religious, some of the religious leaders conflict. The most important about this subject is women. In all conflicts, women are just victims. They rarely participate in war. Neither they able to leave their areas even if they want. Tribally, it's a shame to kill or injure women or children, but because of using different kinds of heavy weapons, there are some killed and casualties. Damage of conflicts over women in the field of education, destroyed schools or close of schools, unavailability of teachers from other governorates, and very low administration from local government's offices. In the field of health, conflict demand more boy children, so sequential pregnancy is very important, and more multiple marriage, limited accessibility to health services. Culturally, conflict strengthen tribal bad acts like such as holding inheritance of women for her or their relatives, limit possibility of marriage to only relatives male, and enforce families to permit early marriage. Economically, limit family productivity and limits market and add more responsibilities over women. At the same time, because the majority of women are living in rural area and in some conflicts area, so maybe sometimes they are subjected to landmines and explosive remnant of wars. Of course, any war, it leads to change gender of the gender. So this is unplanned change in the role of women in two levels. The first one on family level and the second one in communities level. Collapse of family as well as community networks facing women, forcing women to assume new rules. And absence of women leads women and children to feel insecure all the time. Oops. Sustainability effects. This is kind of physical and psychological effects and depression as well as painful memories. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you. We now open the floor to question, comments, and Margot, please, but wait for the mic. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this wonderful overview. Slightly depressing. Things look a bit. I was there 10 years ago, as you know, and doesn't look like there's been a lot of forward movement in Parliament. I guess 50% less women since there were 2 before. But my question is, you talked about NGO activism in relation to changing laws. I wonder if you could explain a bit more which laws, and in particular, have there been changes in Ahwa Shakhsiya, in the family law, affected in the last few years? Thank you.
Okay. According to the laws, we have a lot of laws that they make a lot of amendments. For example, in the law number 5 of 1995 on labor and amendment, in Article 45, which is regarding pregnant working women, they made a lot of kind of good amendment for women, which is raising the duration of her absent from the work, and it should be not neglected or dismissed because she is facing difficult delivery. And working women shall never be dismissed while enjoying maternity leave. The article number 47, any employee who employs female shall display in a notable place the regulation on women's labor and shall specify allocation for women to pray and rest according to the times. Also in article 84, about male and female employees shall be entitled to 1 month paid marriage leave, which shall not be deducted from the regular annual leave. Also in article number 61, about also the maturity of competent youth wherever male and female shall be tested by their parents or guarantees by allowing this youth to run part of their puberty according to the variable conditions and circumstances. Also the law number 26 of 1991 on social insurance in article 51, which regarding the insured to reach the age of 60 years, provided that his or her subscription to insurance shall not be less than 180 months subscription, example 15 years. Amendment article also 57 about the social insurance authority shall pay one lump sum of compensation if the insured subscription in 1 year or more. Also in 64, also the law number 25 of 1991, insurance and compensation and its amendment. Amendment in article number 20, they to ensure reach the age of 60 years of for males and optional 55 years for females, those who are subjected to this law. Addition number law number 2 about diplomatic and consulate and its amendment in article number 82, which is regarding members of the diplomatic shall be subjected to provisions of general laws and many. But the most important laws, it's about they issued about the anti-corruption law number 39, which mentioned in article number 9 that there should be representative from NGOs and women as well.
Roxana.
Thank you very much for this great overview. I want to pick up on what Margot just said. You told us about these laws, but very often it's an indirect ways that women's access to employment is the way that the family law, أفعال شخصية, the husband's permission to work. That could be a way that women's access to employment is curbed. So I wonder if you could explain a little bit about that. And I have another question. Are there a percentage of women who support Islamist group? How women do within the Islamist movements? We know we heard about a little bit about civil society that are concentrated on these issues, but what about the other side, the Islamist women? Thank you.
Okay, regarding the civil law, it's mentioned women can work as well as men, so the rights according to the law is there. But the problem it's family issue. It's not law. The law is giving them the rights to work, but it's family issue because majority of women are working in agriculture because Yemen is agriculture country, and they are working in their family farms. So this is why are they completely informal economy, and they are not present in all sectors of working. But because of the increase of poverty, now women become enter in some works and some jobs that they didn't work before. But according to the law, they are it's okay. According to the Islamist group in Yemen, I couldn't feel this is Islamist group, women in Yemen, because all of us, we are Muslim in Yemen, the Yemen, and Yemeni, they are covered because this is traditional, so it's not indicators that they are more conservative than the others. And at the same time, women, those women can work wherever they want to work. They work. Either they are covering their face or not. So Islamist group, this is something. It's not in Yemen. But there is some, according to the group who are working in the Islamist political parties, they are become more active. They became more active than before, and they start to adopt some of females' issues like early marriage within inside their political parties, and they encourage them to be in the Shura Council. For example, in Islah, there are now 7 women out of 104.
I think that was what. Can I follow up on what Roxana asked you? So there was an overhaul in the personal status law because, the existing personal status laws in most of the country, the husband has the right to stop his wife from leaving the house, i.e. working, education. So there was a change in that. Is there a new personal status law governing in Yemen currently?
There are a lot of articles from different laws that NGOs and Women National Committee and Yemeni Women Union who are working in this field. It's around, I think, 123 articles of different law that we are discussing these issues and other issues regarding discriminatory against women.
But so it's not yet the law of the land.
No.
It is still discussed among
Yes.
NGOs.
Yes.
That
Yes.
was it. Just can you wait for the mic, and please the mic, please.
I wanted, one thing that I noticed when I lived in Yemen is that admittedly this was an urban educated phenomena, but that some young women were having written into their marriage contract that they would be able to continue their education and work, and that this was being negotiated. So it can actually work the other way. Could you explain a little bit more on what you call the honor memorandums?
Yes.
And that issue? Could you just expand on that?
Yes. This honor memorandum, it's kind of agreement among political parties that they don't have to attack each other during the election 2006, and they put some articles mentioned what they have to how to deal with the different issues as political parties, but in different issues during the election. But in that honor memorandum, they didn't talk about women at all. They didn't show even one article or one concern about women.
Just to get back to what you said, this nikah, marriage in Islam, is a contract between two sides. So therefore, you can stipulate as many articles as you want, including to take the power of attorney from your future husband to divorce yourself. But what my question was whether there has been a change in the existing law, which they are still NGOs are discussing.
We have in the Yemeni law what they call it al-khul', which is when the women don't hate the man or she don't want her husband anymore, she has the right to go to the court, and she can be divorced from the court by the judge.
Yeah, that's it. Yes, please. Could you just wait for the mic and also identify yourself?
Thank you. So I'm Masinissa from Algeria. We are in the same group than the Sultana. So I wonder, my question actually is just a bit confusion because it applies for all the MENA region. We don't know when we're going to shift from this victimized side, victimized definition of woman in our region. What is the role of you ladies? What are you doing in our region? Because I'm in an opposition party in Algeria, but actually we didn't have that much participation from women in political or NGOs or whatever. Even though the education level of women in Algeria is a little bit high. Maybe if according to your numbers, we are a little bit better than this. My second question is what the NGOs in the MENA region are doing to empower those women in the field in reality. Let's say from the parties or NGOs that are defending those rights, are they involving, for example, in the candidates, like in the list to be in the parliament or whatever, in the local, governance, and this kind of stuff, in the field exactly? Thank you.
Okay. What we are doing as community of women, we are doing a lot. but all the time we are facing a lot of obstacles because of men. And so what we are doing is training and awareness raising, because if you come to talk about Yemen, we have a high percentage of illiteracy, which is obstacles women to know about their political rights, so they could participate and active. The second thing, they make a lot of they are not supporting women to be in a high positions as a decision makers, which hinder women to be in a good position so they can support women. For example, I think it's before 2 years, there is a woman as a head of literacy reduction authority in Yemen. Before, there is no any lady who are in that position, which is very important for women. Second thing, we are working in different area, but as NGOs, we are in lack for financial resources, because if you'd like to reach those women who are living in the remote area, in the local level, you'd like to pay a lot of efforts, and financial resources should be increased, and this is not available from the donors' side. And the majority of NGOs are working in the field of welfare and charity. The other things, we are doing kind of training for those female candidates, but if the political parties didn't have the will to support women, it's very difficult for NGOs to support them, because we can provide them with good training, but if they didn't have enough resources for election campaigning, we cannot guarantee their winning. At the same time, we are doing good jobs for raising women voices, which is very important project, and we feel it's give the women the opportunity at least to be included in the local level plans, but it's still in 180 districts in Yemen out of 333, which needs more effort. For example, this work in 2003, 2006, but after that, the funders stopped their funding. So how we can continue? So this is big issues for NGOs and women NGOs particularly.
Jennifer, in the back, yes.
Jennifer Olmsted. I would find it very helpful if you could give us a few more concrete examples of the stuff that your NGO does. You gave one example, but it would be helpful for me to hear more about the specific projects that you've been involved with. You just said a little bit when you answered his question, but more detail. And 75% of Yemen is rural, so is your NGO involved in rural communities, or is it primarily an urban phenomenon? So a little bit more about the kinds of issues that your NGO works on, the kinds of issues that are addressed in general, and how NGOs deal with the fact that most of the population is rural, so it's harder to reach them in these kinds of activities. Thank you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to introduce my organization. My organization is called Civic Democratic Initiative Support Foundation. It's abbreviation in English CDF and Arabic MADA, so you will not confused if you heard the same in different meaning. This NGO working since 1993, and we have more than 17,000 volunteers all over the country, and this is how we overcome the urban and rural area. Those 17,000, how we organize them, how we are working with them, it's through what we call them governates commissioners and district commissioners. Those commissioners should be on the governates level between 5 to 7 people. 2 of them should be women, so this is how we can access to women. And in the district level should be 5 to 3 people. 1 of them should be women, and on the constituency level, 1 man and 1 woman. And our project, it depends on these commissioners if we'd like to implement any projects. And those people have the accessibility to women and to their local communities. The other project that we are dealing with, it's election project. This is a national project, and we do it every year since 1993, and during every election in Yemen, with the support of donors or without support, because we understand it's very important for developing women and youth and all those who are interested for democracy. Other projects, it's for resisting violence against women. We started this project since 1998. We are just continuing in this field, and now we have more than 21 organizations who are working for resisting violence against women, and we have a network called Shayma that I mentioned. Other project that we are working for the NGO law since 2006 because the government started to make a lot of amendments which mean more obstacles in front of us, and it will obstacle NGOs to get any funds from the donors unless otherwise the government accept that. And if this is the situation of whole NGOs, it become more worse to women situation. And more, so I can give you my card and the website, you can know more.
Mohammed, please.
Mohammed Ali Atasi. I wonder if you can tell us a little bit regarding the unification between the south and north of Yemen. What is the impact on the situation of women, especially regarding the women on the south of Yemen? I mean, because it was two different law system, two different state, and after unification, what happened? It's helped the situation of women in some way in the north and the south, or is the opposite? This is my first question. Second question, regarding the role of NGOs and donor, etc., with the women movement, and do you think that what other way to defend the right of women than the work of NGOs? I mean, if you look to some feminist movement in the Arab world in the past, they didn't have any kind of fundraising, donor, NGO, but they tried to work inside the society in different way, like activists and the political level. Do you think that in Yemen, it's other possibility than the work of NGOs to help the situation of women?
Okay, regarding your first question about women before and after Yemen unification, I can tell you it's completely different. Before the southern part, women are more active than the northern part of Yemen, and after the unification, it become mixed. In some area, you will find more active women, for example, in Aden than in Sana'a. But now I think it's become more equal, or maybe sometimes in Sana'a more active than in Aden. So it's different from one to another, but before in the southern part it started the women movement or women participation in the field of different kind of women issues started from Aden, and they were more active than the northern part. After the unification they became, or I think most of the Yemeni governorates now included and use that seats that we have in the southern part of Yemen, especially the Yemeni Women Union. The other question regarding movement of women and regardless of the presence of NGOs and if there's some activists in the area, I'll tell you it's very difficult. It's not easy in Yemen to have those kind of women to become activists and become movement without more awareness about their rights, more well-educated women, because if you are talking about the majority who are living in 75% are living in rural area, and those the illiteracy among them it's around 65%. So how you can make this kind of women movement, but by themselves, but through NGOs, more involvement of NGOs in this issue, I'm sure it will make this movement, and more support to the programs which make more involvement of local women. It fasten this process.
Yes, in the back, please.
I'm Rahman Al-Jaburi. I'm the manager of Yemen, Gulf, and Iraq program at the National Endowment for Democracy. And I just came back like 4 days ago from Yemen. First, Sultana, I was in your organization, visited with Fahad. If you can put basically for us here, like 4 critical area to help women in Yemen, number them 1 to 4. Second, there is no lack for money for civil society in Yemen. Definitely there is no lack. I mean, there is a lot of money in civil society. How come this money is not advancing the cause of women? I mean, if you consider an NGO in Yemen has $800,000, $700,000 budget, that's a lot of money. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, the first question about how we can support women. I can tell you it's very important to support local women. It's not in governance level because most of those donors are supporting governance level and they prefer cities because of the security. They don't want to work on a rural area where is the majority. So this is the first one. The second one, it's more pressure over political parties or helping them to develop their agenda so they will include more women and more support or guarantee this support during the election. The third one, it's more development microfinance project, which is will make women more involved in their community, and it should be some kind of support some kind of project which has some sustainability, future initiative, because the majority of donors they are looking for if the election will come, then okay, we will allocate some money to support those candidates. After they finish the election, there is no any support for those women. So, okay, those women who didn't win during last election, why we are not thinking about them? So continue building their capacity in different issues because we can figure out or analysis their behaviors during the elections or the gaps in their skills should be developed and continue this developing. Regarding a lot of money for the civil society, it depends which subject that they are working for. For example, sometimes it's working in different projects because this is the donor's interest. Sometimes, yes, we have a lot of money, but some donors they are interested in human rights. Sometimes they are in environment. Others they are in women issues. Others in democracy. So yes, we have a lot of money, for example, in my organization, but it's not all of them allocated for women to support women only. Women could be, we are trying to make women all the time part of every subject that we are dealing with and involve them in all the training that we have. But it's very difficult to say that a lot of money is for women. Other things, the kind of formats that and procedures that they have as a donors in Yemen. There is a lot of money for supporting NGOs, but the procedures is very difficult because the majority of Yemeni NGOs are speaking only one language, which is Arabic, and the formats is in English. And if you take the European Commission, for example, format, it's very difficult for them to be understand and a lot of procedures and very restrict rules to be applied. A lot of things. I can talk until the morning about it.
No. Yes, please. The mic is coming. Yes.
Jahan, I was in Yemen again in March. I'm sorry. I'm Robin Madrid. I was formerly with NDI. I'm retired now. I was in Yemen in March, and there was a very interesting effort by the opposition parties, the joint meeting parties, to develop a national dialogue across the country, truly national, involving people from different political parties, although the ruling party was not participating. Some individuals were, but not the party as a whole. And the dialogue was to address the many crises facing Yemen currently. I attended a very large meeting at which I was permitted to ask a lot of questions of the participants in the dialogue. There were about 65 men there and one woman, and this was pretty standard. It can be meaningful, it usually is, but sometimes you also have women being very active behind the scenes, even though they're not included at the luncheons. My question to you is, do you feel that national dialogue is open to women's participation, if not in the public forum, in the functioning of it? And do you feel that it is addressing, as part of a national dialogue, the very particular needs and positions of women in all these crises, whether it's the Southern secessionists, the Houthis, the economy?
According to this, your question, yes, it's open for women participation, and I participated in 2 of their meetings as Women Affairs Support Center. And but to what some certain point that they will include women in their discussion. I don't think so that there are a lot of efforts to include women in this crisis, because they think about Al-Houthi as a group without women, and about the movement in the southern part but without women. So maybe this is an important issue that NGOs should pay a lot of efforts to include women in this discussion. But of course they will talk about here and there, like health and education and the humanitarian support for those people who are IDPs, and especially because they are around 80% of those IDPs in Yemen. But it's not, of course, the participation in other subjects.
Yes, here and then, yeah.
Hi, my name is Juan Fogelpuck. I'm with Refugee Asylum and International Ops with Citizenship and Immigration Services. My question for you is, could you bring up the subject of domestic violence, develop that a little bit more? Its frequency in Yemen, and then the women that are victims of it, what kind of recourse do they have? You mentioned divorce. Is it a grounds for women to obtain a divorce based on domestic violence? And also, is there a difference for rural women versus the urban women as well?
No, it's the same. According to the law, it's the same for those urban too, because Islam rules it's the same for all women around the world. It's not only in Yemen. So they have this kind of al-khula, which gives the women the right to divorced by the court if they don't want their husbands anymore. It's
sorry,
practices?
no,
What?
We just have one last question. We are running out of time. Thank you. You can.
Hi, my name is Rabab al-Mudwahi. I'm from the Leaders for Democracy Fellowship. I'm also Sultana's partner. I just had two quick comments and not
Sorry,
questions.
just the question, no comments.
Okay, I have no question. I just wanted to have an elaboration.
Okay,
Thank you.
Sorry, thank you. Any, okay, I'll ask you the last question. You mentioned that Yemen complies with CEDA, with reservation or without reservation?
Without any reservation, because it's signed before the unification in 1984, and the southern part didn't make any reservation. And after the unification, they said they mentioned any conventions before the unification, it could be adopted by the government. So now there is a lot of efforts by Yemeni Women Committee and also the NGOs to sign the optional protocols, and the cabinet approved it, and we are waiting for the parliament.
Thank you. Please join me in thanking Sultana.